which is a construction that it's already working. And it is located in the south of the city. And well, just to let you know the quick context, the city is in the border with the United States. It's Chihuahua here in Mexico, and the migration, it's a really important point here in our city, especially in this part because it's really near the train rails. Lalo.
Yeah, well, we made a previous research, and we found that most of the immigrants come from Central America. This is important because their main source of transportation is the train, and this is going to take a very important. It's going to be very important inside of project. Well, the request was to make a simple and economic project. Why? Because the migrants' house has a very limited income and limited resources, so they want something that can be done pretty easy. So our concept arises from this space where they spend most of the journey, the train wagon. We took a train wagon and we started breaking it a little bit. We played a little bit with the sides to add some perspective. We removed some faces to make an entrance of light. And we also decided to add vegetation inside of our building. Another important thing is that we wanted to add a garden beside this oratory. So we didn't want to change the pavement that it's already there in the house because it would represent a bigger cost for the people. So we decided to implement some boxes with vegetation. This vegetation we have two purposes. One to be decorative plants, like just to look pretty, or the other one is to make an orchard for them to grow and cultivate their own food.
So as Lalo already explained, we thought that having a green space combined with our project was something fundamental for us to make this connection. The project is a space that we created for the migrants to connect with themselves, and also a space in which they can have different ceremonies by themselves, or if they wanted to have a space, like a public space, to have these ceremonies with among other people, it could also work that way. So here it is, the area in which we're working on. This is a construction that it's already made and it's already working. And this area right here, it's the one that we are proposing. So we worked on a connection. It's going to be connected to the construction by this part right here, which is the kitchen. And then we made this new design, which is going to be the oratory, and we played with the light. And we wanted to have light mostly in the mornings. And here it is a connection with the green spaces that we proposed as well. And so, as I already said, we wanted to have like various uses of one space. So we planted like these two areas in which you can have like a conversation with yourself or connect with yourself without a need to be with other people. And then also we have this other area or part in which you can have ceremonies.
This is important because the migrants' house is from the Catholic Church. So we wanted a space where they can have like these Catholic ceremonies, but also the space in the back is for people that maybe it's not a Catholic believer. So they can stay in that space and have their own moment without preaching for some other God that they don't believe in.
And so here are some facades of our project. So we wanted to use really light materials because of what Lalo said at the beginning. They wanted some project that could be not so expensive, and so this is what we propose. We will be working with wood, and here is some of the explanations of the area that we combine in our project. We really thought that having a lobby or a reception area before going to the oratory was something important for us. Why? Because we're going to be connected to the kitchen of the migrants' house. So we wanted to have that like filter between spaces. Here we proposed to have a tree or some vegetation of the same area to make it lighter and to make it more natural and more organic. And then here you can see how we're going to work with different spaces in the same oratory.
A very important thing is that this space, the train wagon, may represent something bad for the migrants because they suffer a lot in these spaces. So we want to transform that idea. We wanted to make a space in which they could feel peace. Even if it's dark, they know they could find this peace and feel good inside of it. So to change a little bit that perspective they have of this place.
And then here we have some renders of our proposal. And so as you can see, we're using really light materials, and we propose some spaces between one another of these objects to have this entrance of lights. And this is another perspective of it. We propose this green part as well to make it all a combination. And this is the inside part of it. So this was our first project. Now we're going to show you some videos that we made of it.
And that will be our first project. Now we're going to continue with our second project.
So our second project is a community center, and as our professor said before, we used an area that is right next to the Casa del Migrante territory. And here we made an analysis of how the community is, how the people live in there, what are their problems, their issues, and how can we help to make a more a better place to live on. So they have some issues at the time of trying to be with the migrants. So we wanted to create a space in which they could be together and in which they could make some activities together and coexist in a good way. So we created this community center for the use of everybody in this community. So our concept was the backpack, because we thought about the migrants. We think that they only use, or they have with them like only the really necessary things, and they carry everything in their backpack, and it's something like compact, something that you can carry with you to everywhere. So it's something in which you have only the necessary things for your daily life, in your daily activities. So we wanted to have those ideas in a space, in which you can have a good memory with that you can carry with you, something that can change, something in which you can have different of activities, but it's not a really extravagant design of a space.
Yeah, we wanted to continue with the language of the context, because with some materials such as bricks, such as concrete, rocks, and wood, so we wanted to implement those materials inside our project. We divided our project in 5 different types of pockets, I would like to call them, because it's a backpack. First one being the multi-purpose, the academic and learning commons, the service, the green connections, and the coexistence and recreation. In the multi-purpose, we have the multi-purpose room. This is an important room because we wanted a space that can be transformed for the different necessities of the community. It can be used for either like children parties or conferences, or it can be made into another classroom. It can be used to give courses to the people. We also wanted to add a library because we think that it's important that the children in the surroundings have access to this information. And we also added computers because now in quarantine, we discover how important it is to have an access to technology. So we thought that this is a very important thing we have to give to them. Then we have here the classrooms that can be transformed with the furniture. We wanted that the space can be transformed with it, can be made bigger, it can be smaller, depending on the necessities and the classes that are going to be taught in that area. And we also have an outside classroom to give like this certain sense of another pocket inside of project where they can like feel more free. And we have the playground that kids can draw in the floor with chalk, they can play, they can get skateboard, and also children, also grown-ups, they can like live, coexist in this space and have fun. And we didn't found many parks nearby, so we wanted to make this space in which they can like have this experience. And we also thought about using this space maybe for some presentation of, maybe if there's a dance class, they can present like in that space, like like an auditorium or something like that. And we surround it by trees to give this cozy effect and also to give some protection without adding a wall. And finally, in the center, we have this resting space or coexistence space that we want to be the main pocket, a place in where all the people can coexist and they can like live together. So we thought that a community that lives together stays together. So we want to make that sense of community between this neighborhood. Here we have some sections. As we can see in the spaces, we have some cantilevers in order to protect from the sun during summer, because we have a very hot summer here in Chihuahua, but we also want to let we didn't want it to make too big to let the sun enter during winter in order to warm up these rooms. Here we have how the access ramp is connected to the sidewalk. We wanted this because we want this space to be used by everyone, no matter what your conditions or disabilities you have. And here we have a longitudinal section crossing through the library and the multipurpose room with this storage area where they can storage like the furniture and everything they need to use. And finally, here we have the render of how the facade will look. And that's our community center.
So that's the presentation of both of our projects. And do you have any questions?
Maybe briefly, could you talk a little bit about the ideas of, I guess, economy and modesty of materials? From the first project, it seemed like you were really interested in this kind of like lightness and efficiency. Could you talk about whether that translated to the second project, or if you developed other ideas about the materiality?
Yeah, during the second project, we also want like the material from the context. We have some brick, some concrete, and it's not as light as the other project. We have wood, like for example, in this resting space, but we want this to make a solid project because we wanted a solid community. In the other project, we want something more like, in order for them to like feel like more liberated and more to how to liberate from those bad things that they have during their journey.
Yes, so we wanted to use similar ideas in both of our projects, but as Lalo said, one of the projects is mainly for them to relax and to connect and to let go of all those things that they live in that space, which was like our main so we took one space and we wanted to change it, you know, for them to feel a different thing. And here we wanted something more solid, and we used materials that are more common in the area, in the houses that are near this territory.
I would like to ask just a question, because maybe I missed before from the Emanuele presentation. Just very general. The students have a project brief with a specific requirement or dimension or size of the buildings, or they are free to decide program, functions, and the dimension of the building in terms of square meter, volumes, and so on?
We were free to choose all those aspects. We were just given like the terrain, the place where we were going to make that. For example, in the first project, we have like all the spaces surrounding the house. We could choose either space, wherever we wanted. And here we have the whole like slot to have to put our ideas in. So we wanted to make this simple community center because of the context. We didn't want to make something like really big and that breaks out with the language that we're seeing in these spaces.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Thank you very much to the team. I think we can go to the next one. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm the next one. Hello.
Okay. Hi, Dania.
Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So first of all is the oratory. So the oratory is an essential part for everyone who may go through important changes, because being connected with their spirituality is key, and more for the traveler, for them to feel their own in a space, and also is an important source of help and reflection. Here is a little bit of the context. The oratory is located on the back of the Casa del Migrante because it is more intimate and private space. Here we have a trail of trees that will conduct to the entrance of the oratory. The project implements 3 windows pointing to 3 different cardinal points for better use of the light. The oratory, as I said, is an intimate space and a safe place to see clarity in your thoughts. This space creates a sense of tranquility and is also a welcoming place for the user. Implementing materials such as wood, glass, and concrete, and all this in order to create, well, the desired environment. The project is positioned in a way to take advantage of the light because of its nature to be on the back, with the implementation of windows in 3 cardinal points and at the top of the oratory, here in the roof. It is located in the back because it's remote and quiet. The windows points towards a garden, making it a pleasant view and a feeling of openness while coexisting with the outside. So the path that the user have to make to be in this space is an spiral. So the spiral symbolizes connection to your spirituality, also represent harmony, beginning, concentration, journey, direction, and progress. And all of these things are the things that the project wants to evoke on the user. So this is the oratory. Here is the community center. I named the community center Aperture because of its nature to be an open space. So it provides a safe space in the community where they can develop their strengths and create new experiences, leaving a clear path for the community unity and understanding. The activities with the center will be mostly cultural, with workshops such as dancing classes, crafts, music, languages, and many more. The auditorium here is an essential part of the project, not only for its protagonisms, also because it will contain a large amount of people and will be possible to carry out a wide variety of events. Okay, by elevating the building, the project wants to create an open space where the users can walk free while being inside the center. Also, the user can get a better view of the street and a free path for the users that transit daily this space. So here on the ground floor, we will have all the administrative offices with our auditorium. Then with the ramp, the user can go to the top floor where mostly will be the workshops, the cultural workshops. And in here, they have a free space to walk and stuff, because this place is a place where all the community walk through every day to go to the bus and their daily routines. And that will be it. Any questions?
Thank you, Dania. Do you have any questions, Stephen, Tiziano, Ersela?
Dania, do you have any interior images of the community center? Can we zoom in somewhere to understand kind of the nature of the space?
Well, I have this render here. There is mainly the part of the auditorium, and you can see here like the ramp, and then one axis of one of the workshops. Here are the administrative offices and more workshops here on the top. That will mainly be it.
Okay, so it's meant to be half of the spaces are interior and enclosed, and then this arm is meant to be mostly exterior amphitheater meeting space, right?
Yes.
That's nice. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions?
But maybe because you went so fast in the presenting the first project, maybe you could you maybe add any aspect that you want to underline in terms of innovation or in terms of bioclimatic elements, some specific architectural element that you want to point out or specify a little bit better?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, and in the first project, I implement this lattice that will bring more openness to the auditorium, because I didn't, well, the project didn't want to be as close, and it brings a lot of light in the interior. And also here is a free space for them to walk, and also can bring more chairs and make it a more mixed space. Okay, in the community center will be the ramp, because I think that it's a characteristic of the community center, of this aperture project.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between this sort of like the metal, the open sort of mesh openness of the oratory, and then the really sort of like tectonic heaviness of the rammed earth for the community center? It seems like one is more kind of has something to do with making an architecture that is made of pieces and parts, whereas the community center seems to be made from the ground and the earth of that context. And so why, like, what was your thinking? Why are the two so radically different in the way that they might be made?
Okay, so the oratory is mostly a spiritual space for them to express their feelings. And here in the community center, the activities mostly are on the outside. So you have this Cerro Coronel, this mountain here on the back. So here with the materials is earth. So it coexists with the concept, without being like something weird and then place them on their community. So this, I wanted to make it this way because I wanted to be more of a context, like here is your community.
Could you talk a little bit about the relationship between the form of the community center, this kind of like bent bar, and where the programs happen in the bends? I'm interested in the idea that parts of the bar are absolutely straight and you could kind of pack pretty normative rectangular spaces, but then the minute it bends, you get a kind of wedge that has a broad back and a narrow front, or you have a kind of semicircle, which is always sort of like distancing yourself from your neighbors in some way. How does that relate to kind of what happens inside of the bar or on the bar?
Okay, so the workshops are mainly geometric, like squares, but here the ramp Also because it's, we will have people of all places and types, because implementing a ramp will be more easy for them to access the top floor. And also because of its nature of being more symmetrical and stuff. And well, I needed to have this spark of something different.
Could you please zoom a little bit in the master plan of the Roger Community Center? No. I mean,
Here.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very difficult to see where is your building actually.
It will be right here. Here we'll have the ramp and then all the workshops.
Mm-hmm. Not very clear actually.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any more comments or questions?
No.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I think Nashem and Kimberly are the next ones. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, who's gonna share the screen? Go ahead.
Good morning. We are going to present an oratory and a community building project. The team is integrated by Natemisa and Kimberly Flores. We are going to start with the site analysis. Migration is the international movement of people moving to another country. Actually, USA is the largest migratory flow receptor. Some of the factors that make migrants migrate are insecurity, look for a better job, income growth, look for a safety place, and so on. This is the master plan of the city of Chihuahua, and this is the zone we study. The area where we propose both projects is located at the south of the city in an industrial zone and near the Cerro Coronel, which is a significant figure in the city. When we were walking around the zone, we realized an amazing connection with the nature, like trees, brush, hills, plants, the sun rays, and the sky. Here are the photos of the travel from the train tracks, which are here, to the migrant house, which is here. Our proposal is an exploration of form, function, light, and materials fitting with the objective. We decide to create a space where they can relax and have a connection with themselves without having to leave the migrant house. We wanted to keep the nature inside, so it's how our concept is born. We wanted to appreciate the sky inside the oratory. The sun rays pass through holes we designed in the walls, and you can still appreciating the Cerro Coronel when entering.
Okay, so we played with our materials. We wanted to connect our space with our concept, which was the sky, the sun, and the hill. So on the entrance, we have a vestibule. So we played with the lights a little bit during the afternoon. The sun creates a rays like a form through the holes, and we wanted to have that space a little bit apart from the main space, which was the oratory, in which, since the Casa del Migrante is owned by a Catholic organization, they wanted to have a space where they could also have mass in there. So we created this open space in which these benches can move and be rearranged in whatever the form you want. So you can create the activity you want, and also being able to have mass. Here are some of our sections and facades. We have here the south facade, which is the one we played a little bit with for the form and the sun to create the light. The east facade, and we have that closed completely, so we have a open space on the opposite side. We created this interior garden so they could connect with the nature. We are located on the back of the Casa del Migrante. We have this area, and we connected our space with El Cerro Coronel, which is on the back of the Casa del Migrante. And during this walk to get to entrance the area, we can appreciate the Cerro Coronel. Here are some of our renders of the interior of the oratory, the vestibule we were talking about with the lights, and our two facades. We are also going to show you a video in which we created a walkthrough of the space. Here we made a study of this, how the sun would go in the oratory during July. I'm sorry, it was a little fast. And we can see that it has a good connection with the sun, which is what we wanted to create. Here in the beginning of the render, we can appreciate what we were saying about connecting during the entrance to the Cerro Coronel, which is the walk towards the oratorio. Let me play it. Here, this is what I'm talking about. You are walking through the trees and the Casa del Migrante so you can go to the oratory, and in the back you can see the Cerro Coronel. And that will be all for the oratory. And we are going to present now the community center. We called it Ladrilleros since it's the main street that has the community in. This street is the main, and it's called Ladrilleros. Our proposal was to create a space where migrants and the community could combine, because when we visited the area, the people from La Casa del Migrante told us that the community and the neighbors were not pleased with the migrants there, because they felt insecure. So we took this concept that is the Venn cycle, the Venn, and we had the community and the migrants, and we united them into one space.
We believe that the building is for everyone, so we propose a parking area with a space for disabled. Also, we design a space to leave bicycles. Here is the main entrance. Here is the reception, a daycare, which is really important because there is no near the place, the stairs, an elevator, and here is the dining room with a kitchen. Restrooms separated for men and women, and 3 different workshops without walls, just separated by shelves to have the feeling of a big space. The 3 of them are surrounded by high windows, and at both of their sides, we put doors to handle the flow transition. In the middle of the space, we're proposing a double height 2 ways to coexist. And at the second floor, we have 2 multi-purpose rooms in order to be transformed as the necessities of the time. A game room with a pool table and TV area, and here is the library. We have 4 tables, computing area, and we design benches attached to the windows that goes from the floor to the ceiling, and you can be sitting in here and also appreciating the Cerro Coronel, which is here. Here are some of the sections. Here is the library, the workshops, the game room, and the kitchen. Here is the reception, the terrace, also a library and the workshops. And here is the library. Here are the benches I was talking about and the windows, the workspace. Here is a terrace. And here is the entire building. The parking, the library, the workshops, the multi-purpose rooms. And that's it.
That would be all. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Nashim and Kimberly. Okay, Stephen, Ersela, Tiziano.
Yes, maybe about the second project. Perhaps you can explain me a bit better the porch, because it seems you create some porch in front of the building, and whether the roof you think about to use maybe the roof for some function or some technology, or is just a roof that it's all.
We created the porch so that even if you are in the community building, you can be in the outside and have a connection with the nature, and like being able to be outside and have community time with the neighbors. And the roof is, we didn't plan it as something like to be accessible, like to have another use. So we could plan and think about some, but we didn't.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Tiziano. Any more questions?
Could you talk a little bit more about the relationship of the programs and the spaces on the ground floor to the spaces above them? Did you design it all in section, any relationships vertically?
Well, in the space of the libraries and the workshops, it has almost the same amount of space. Both of that spaces have a windows in both of their sides, so they have the same views in both ways. In the first floor, we created the doors so they could exit to this space that we had here and also to the terrace. So on the second floor, obviously you can exit it, but you have the same feeling of being connected to that same space.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Ersela? Well, if you are ready, maybe we can go to the next team. I think is Carol and Patricia. Thank you to this team. Are you ready? Okay, go ahead. Who's gonna share the screen?
Sí lo pueden ver, ¿verdad? Okay.
Okay, I'm Patty and my partner is Carol, and we are going to present a project. Okay, as we all know, migrants in their transit through Mexico suffer of constant stress, either by the same people of the town that discriminate them because of the stereotype that they have been given over the years, that they are their people, criminals, lazy, etc. And also the authorities make migrants feel scared since because they aggress them and sometimes they even physically mistreated and put in jail unfairly. So this project was born of this problem. Okay, with a little bit of the context, the migrant house is located in the south of the city, Ladrilleros Street and Arenales Street, and also is located at 200 meters from the Pacheco Bridge, which is where migrants get off and board the train to the transit to the United States. So in this zone, we see parks, churches, trains, stores, and etc. But we notice that it's a dangerous zone. So with these problematics and needs, we decided that the project we want is from the need to offer migrants a space in which they can be relied of the stress of the trip, a place where they can relax and reunited with themselves without having to leave the migrant house and have to expose themselves to both dangers and looks.
Okay, so the concept of our oratory is that we need two spaces, a garden and an oratory. And what does these spaces do? Well, the oratory helps relieve stress and the need of a Catholic space. As we know, the migrants' house is directed by a Catholic organization, and the garden is to help relieve stress also, and to help this aesthetic part, because the zone is not so good looking, and we want to end up with that migrants can arrive to a place that is aesthetic. So we thought, with the oratory, what about other religions? We know that we have to fulfill the need of a Catholic space, but what about other religions? And with the garden, can we add something to make it more valuable? So with these two questions, we arrived to this concept, which is merge both the garden and the oratory to create two religious spaces, one for Catholics and Christians, and another one for non-believers. And this is to make a belongingness for anyone. So this is our project. It's important to say that the main thing of this project is to simplify, to create an inclusive place for anyone. Every migrant must feel that the space is for them, no matter their religion. So the project is divided into the oratory and the garden. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so the oratory is a free floor plan. It only has a cross in the water. This is like a pool, I mean, and it's more private and closed. But we opened a cross in the ceiling to seek light from the sky, or as we like to call it, light from the heaven. And our garden, which is a desertic garden, it's a private space, yeah, but without the feeling of being locked. It has a lattice, which is that are all walls, but they give the feeling of breathing. And why a desertic garden? Well, because to merge with the climate of the sun and to lower maintenance. Okay, so our oratory must be a subtle urbanization. Why? Because we don't want to be aggressive. We seek to give a familiar sensation to the migrants. And second, we want to use natural elements from the zone to help reducing cost of getting them and lower the cost of maintenance. Some of the materials we are going to be using are water, wood, stones, sand, plants, and the sky view and light. In the garden, we are going to use stones as chairs, as seats, and in the oratory, we are going to use old wood logs to as seats also. And we are going to use desertic vegetation. We're going to be using water. This water can also be used to
contain water of the
And also we will be collecting water from when it rains. Due to we have a slope to collect all the water from the rain due to the cross in the ceiling, which is open. Our ceiling is also of wood. So this is to lower the temperature inside the oratory. And here we have a space for them to sit if they want. If they do not want to be inside the oratory, they can be right here sitting. And we use the phrase, we are, how can you say, migrants in this earth, because that is true. Everyone in this earth is just for a little bit of time, and we want people and neighbors to end with the bad concept they have about migrants, because we all are migrants in one way or another. So this is our project of the oratory. Oh, and here are some sections of this is the migrants' house, and this is how it is from inside the oratory. And this is a section of how it looks like in a panoramic view. This is the entrance, the inside, here is the cross, the lattice, and the desertic Zen garden, and the exit. Okay, so this is our community center. The land proposed for the community center is beside the migrants' house. And the project is well located in the outskirts of the city and is at 2,000 meters of the Pacheco Ridge, which is where the migrants get off the train when they arrive. Well, we thought of this community center because the context we have are houses of 1 or 2 floors, parks, small businesses, and chapels. The public spaces are not used by the migrants because they feel vulnerable and because they feel uncomfortable with the neighbors, because the neighbors give them looks because they think they are criminals. So we made this community center in order to finish that bad concept the neighbors have with the migrants. So we thought of a place where we can learn that we can learn and find points of interest and even teach each other and grow together. So we thought of a place we can find a meeting point between us.
Okay. ¿Le haces más zoom al plano? Okay. The architectural proposal, we decided to divide it in spaces in 3 sections: activities, services, and public spaces. The spaces inside each section that we concluded were the following. In the left are the part of the activities, and we have a carpentry shop, the restaurants, the craft workshops, the computer room, and this is a library and multi-purpose room with a terrace. And the other side, we have services that we want to offer. We want to have legal advice, psychological attention offices, and medical service. And in this part, we are the orchard that we want to offer too. And the public spaces are the backyard that in here they can play football or basketball too. And in the front, we see the central courtyard where found our 3 of the concept. And this is a public space that we are not going to put a reja. I don't know how to say, but it's all, this is all open. And I need to mention that the project is inclusive for all people that want to go, also for disabled people.
Yeah. So what my partner was saying is that here we know that the zone is dangerous. So in the night we want to close the important parts, which are the offices and the computer lab. So we thought of leaving here a wall that will have the name of the community center, and here we're going to have like kind of doors that will be closed when the oratory is, when the community center is closed. But we want to leave the public area free. We want people to be using it. Why? Because this will be our meeting point. Here we want that people from the neighborhood and people from the migrants' house to be together here. That's why our concept came from a tree view from above, which is this one. Why? Well, each branch is a different space, a space for everyone, because we want to be inclusive. And nature is our coexistent, like is shown here. These are trees with circle chairs. And we have a mirroring point, a branching center. Why? Because this is our center, and these are our branches, because there is a space for everyone, no matter your need. And we came up with this phrase that is, we all came from the same root, even if we are in a different branch. And that's all of our projects.
I think it's important that that we don't concentrate in only the activities of the community center. Also, we provide, we want to provide services like medical, psychology and legal advice, because these places are needed to them, because they feel unsafe when they go out of the city. Like, these places are in the center, and they also go out, and for this is, I think it's important. And I think it's important that this project is built, because it will really help the inclusion of migrants in society, and reunite them with people of the colony in activities that will generate healthier coexistence. And gradually, we can remove the stereotype that they have for migrants. Besides this, the area is very insecure, and this project is like a measure to combat indirectly, and it will be more flow of people, and it will also promote culture and education in this neighborhood.
Yeah, and with the activities we are proposing, it's a way of non-formal training for basic job skills, because most of the migrants here are looking for a job, and we want them to give them skills that with which they can seek for a job, and also a way to keep the mind occupied and relaxed, which could also be therapeutic. And that's it. Any questions?
I wonder, I noticed in your plan that there are some programs that face the public area that are more easily perhaps like protected, or at least, less glassy, let's say, especially in the area where they kind of buffer between the courtyard and the rear patio. There's something kind of different happening in that area of the plan than in the sort of towards the left side of the plan where everything's sort of glassy. I'm just wondering if you've considered the kind of materiality and the placement of the program as a mechanism to perhaps balance what you described as sort of like security concerns between day and night, or if there's any relationship in your mind between how you organize daytime and nighttime activities within these kinds of volumes, and how that impacts both the interior space and the exterior space at the same time.
Yeah, well, here is our backyard part, and as you can see in this picture, it's like under the ground. So when we closed here, this area is going to be locked, and here the part that has more glass is the one that also is going to be closed in the night, because we want like protection, because here we have computers and here we have books, and we want people to respect this community center. Also, we want with not with the materials, but we want with the activities to people defend that place. We want people to feel belongingness to that place. It's not of the materials. The materials are mere aesthetic, but we want people to feel that this place is from them, for them, and that in some point it can be not closed in the night, and people could use it because people would defend it and take care of this place. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tiziano, Ersela, if you have any questions. If not, we go with the second, with the next group.
I guess it's too bad that we don't have people from the Casa del Migrante here in this review, because I wonder if there can be a phase of the project where you actually interview both the migrants and the people who are running the migrant house, and just to understand the complexities, because I think this project is the first one that really is talking about the complexity of understanding the context, of being open and welcoming, but also safety and kind of strength, so that it's not like a completely surrounded compound, right? Like a gated community, but that there is a sense that if you're a migrant and if there's some kind of hostility from the local neighborhood, you should feel safe and comfortable to come here for some sort of training. And so I feel like it would be really useful then to take especially this project with all of its questions about the absolute perfect balancing of like safety and openness, and to talk to the people, the community workers who are working in the organization, and the migrants and the neighborhood, and to kind of to allow this, especially the open garden in the front, to be the conversation piece that brings everyone together, right? Like this public space, but then the public space is not only at the edge of the street that makes it really open, but it's also surrounded by all these other systems that sometimes might need to not be for the neighborhood. They might have to be closed, right? And then sometimes they need to be completely open to serve as a community center. So I think it's a really interesting balance. And this bottom image here you have right above where it says our proposal, it's a really nice way to kind of like layer, to create layered views out into the neighborhood where the wall in the soccer field almost disappears, right? So there could be height that talks about security and being detached from the ground, but to the territory. That's a nice image.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tiziano, any questions, or we can go with the next group?
I'm okay. Can go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Carol, Patty, thank you very much. And then we can go with Otto, Sofia, Riccardo, right? When you're ready, you can start.
Okay, good morning. My name is Ricardo, and my teammates are Sofia and Otto. We're going to present our oratory and how we came up with the idea. So the first problematic that we observed was that the community was not very welcoming with the migrants because they didn't feel safe around them. Thanks to they weren't aware of their background as a person or all the troubles and obstacles that they have come through. Here in Chihuahua, the migration can be difficult because the authority does not have any regulation of how to deal with the migrants. Therefore, there is no registry or data based on them. So they can commit crimes and there will be no data of them migration. The authority has no regulation of how to deal with migrants, therefore is no registry. we showed here that the area we selected to make the oratory.
Well, it stems from the idea of bringing together in a public space faith and reflection to make these things accessible to all. The idea of the oratorium is to create a space that it can be used for anyone, for anyone and any use that that it can be present in the day-to-day of the Casa del Migrante. In the oratory, we recorded activities of integration, faith, and spirituality that is combined with a green area attached to the oratory. In the materiality, we decided to use the most common elements that the migrant sees from the start of the journey until the end of the journey.
The connection is very important to our project because it is like the heart of it. It is the garden, and one of the main advantage of the garden, as I mentioned, is the connection that it provides. The garden can connect like different parts of the house and lead to the oratory. It can connect the exit from the kitchen, the patio, the front yard, the main entrance, and the little house for the families that it is in the background of the house. And thanks to this garden creates like a path for the migrants or the people there to, well, not travel, but to walk on until they reach the oratory. Also, the garden helps keep connected all the house, thanks to the what I mentioned earlier, that all the exits and parts of the house are connected through it. And it can also be like a space that can bring the people that are there closer. And also we wanted to include the garden in the front so the community can feel more safe, that they can see what is going on in there, not such a closed space and they had no idea what is going on in there. And they can also go, and if they want to pray, meditate, or just relax in the oratory, they are welcome. And we decided that even though the Casa del Migrante is a Catholic house, we felt like we didn't put a cross or make it a Catholic oratory. We leave that to each person because maybe they don't feel connected with that religion or with that beliefs. So basically we created a space where they can feel safe and just think about their next move or something, but it is like a safe place. That's the main idea. And yeah.
Well, we have here the video. Okay. Here we have our other project that we call. Sorry. Ahora sí. Yeah. So well, here we have our community center, and we decided to call this Nómada because it's the Spanish word to define the people who is walking to find a new place every day, and they don't stay in the same place like every day. Okay.
Well, in the gray line, you can see like the creative process where we started like with 2 squares and we start to destroying them kind of. And the main concept of our community center are the train wagons that lead the migrants to the places that they need to be, because it's the way that they travel. They jump in a way travel, and like they just go wherever they lead them. So that's like our main concept for the rectangles that we use.
In our project, the open spaces are offered to create a sense of belonging with the community, as well as the migrants and residents of the area. In the first floor of the main building, in the front access, it has a hall and rest area, which leads to the next phase, which is the hall that divides a workshop that is designed for work such as carpentry or painting. In addition to containing, it's a perspective of waiting, a respective waiting room for the project's health area, which is a medical office that is designed to attend a minor health problems. We decided to use these elements in the project, like the containers, because we think it is an easier way to concrete the project. In the analysis of the area, we went to the Casa del Migrante, and the person who is in charge of the Casa del Migrante said to us that the company that is crossing the
migrants,
yes, that is crossing the migrant, they have like a kind of like a safe path to the journey. They can take the train and in a safe place to not get injured in the train to get into the train. So maybe we can have like a kind of conversation with the company to help to create this project, because we think it can be useful to the company and to the community that is around the area.
Well, and both sections are connected through a path that integrate the community with the community center, and through gardens, recreational spaces, resting areas, and reading. And for the project, that's it. Do you have any questions?
Did I miss this? Are there any floor plans or sections? Can you scroll up a little?
Here or?
Okay. Okay, so in the first floor, there's very minimal construction and the containers are really separated. And then on the second floor, sort of the entire space is all connected together. Right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, here in this space, we have the main entrance in this part. We decided to make it in here because there is in the area there is only nearby the area is only residential house, and in the community we saw that they have like a lot of necessities, and there is some parts that they are like how do you say like they are not healthy, so we decided to make in this space the medical area because we think it's a really important part for the community. In these other 4 elements that we have in here, we decided to create a different rooms to in this room create like a different type of classes or something. Maybe they can go to the football practice and have the like the coaching in here, and then they can go to the football yard to practice, or maybe they can have here painting classes or music classes, something like that. Also, in the second floor, we decided to create an audiovisual room. This to help them to improve their technological abilities, or maybe it can be used also for a community event, something like that. And also we decided to create a library. In here, the purpose is to help them to help to the kids, help to the people to with their homeworks, or maybe if they can need to realize something, they can use this area.
Seems like one of the strategies here is one of sort of like aggregation or let's say fragmentation, perhaps, as opposed to some of the other projects that we saw, which were about sort of what I would call like stronger form, right? Like the idea of like creating a courtyard or a U shape or a bent bar or something like this. Like it seems like you guys are interested in this kind of formlessness of the interior space and potentially the exterior space. I'm just wondering what your attitude is towards how the aggregation or the assembly of these multiple fragments, how that actually shapes the negative space, meaning like the exterior space around the buildings, or the public space. Did you have thoughts on that?
Well, the idea of it being different buildings and it being separated is for the community to be able like to see what's going on in there, like we said in the oratorium as well. So we don't create a space like it's it blocks the view for the community and the migrants about what's going on inside and outside of the community center. So that's why it is designed that way. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, I'm just interested in the intention, like the I guess the tension between the intention for that and then the reality, because it's such a small site that when you break up the program so much, you actually produce some problems with like visibility, right? Like it's hard to see around some of the pavilion rooms. It's hard to know sort of where you're going from the street. So I wonder how you guys studied that, if the intention was to create this kind of like radical openness and then the strategy is fragmentation. There's a kind of unintended consequence, right? Like a unexpected result that like the more you fragment, perhaps the more you block. So it's, I don't know, it's an interesting problem, I guess, to give yourself, but I'm trying to understand the resolution of it.
Well, I think maybe it was, I don't know how to say, contraproducente. It backfired us, but that was the main idea at the beginning and also at the end. But yeah, I know what you see. I understand what you see now. I didn't think about it earlier.
Thank you. Tiziano, any questions for this group?
No, just regarding the first project, is interesting the location, because create a in between space, a sort of courtyard, no? And you also did a perspective, a view from the road toward the entrance, no? And is pretty interesting, I think. However, I would like to ask you whether you use why you combine this kind of classical composition of the garden, and in contrast with the almost informal space that you create inside the oratory.
Well,
if you scroll to the plan, maybe you can.
No, el oratorio.
Not the oratorio.
Oh, sorry.
So the question is why it is a sort of classical garden and an
I mean, it's pretty strange to see this kind of contrast between between these two spaces, no? The garden and the inside. Maybe you can add some comment.
Yeah, well, the garden, I think it turned out that way because, as I say before, it was meant to be like a path. So that's why it is like very meticulous. I don't know how to say it. And in the oratory, it was meant to be like a space where you can be you, like with no rules. You just hang out there and be in a safe place. That's why we didn't want it to be like a very I don't know, tight space. And also because I don't know, I think it gives the people more the feeling of just relaxing.
Okay, thank you very much. If you don't have any more questions for the reviewers, from the reviewers, we can go with the last group. Daniela and Kevin.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you very much. When you're ready, you can start.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So, hi, good morning. We are Kevin and Daniela. We are going to present you our oratory for this Migrant House San Agustin. This project is located in Chihuahua, Mexico. The project is located in Chihuahua, in the south of the city. This zone is well known by being neglected by the government or in general. So we took some photos of the site photography. That is the migrant house. As you can see, we have the trees, del Cerro Coronel, the courtyard, and inside the house, you can find a table with a picture of Virgen de Guadalupe. And this is why they asked us to create an oratory. So when we analyze the context, we can find 85% of residents. The 12% are services like churches, stores, and the 3% are green areas. We can find a park about 160 meters away from the migrant house, and the train routes are in about 11 minutes walk. It's important to say that the high migration in Mexico and South America is growing up so much. And we thought that they have so many problems during their trip. And we want to create a space where they can feel safe and with their own mental health. And we are going to present our project that we are located in the back of the house in the back.
Well, as we know, migrants pass through very difficult situations during their trip. That's why we were invited to design an oratory. So our main goal is to make migrants experience better during their trip, so they can feel so they can find a place where they can feel safe and they can pray or meditate, so they can reach their goal without losing hope. So our project can be explained in 3 volumes. One of them, that is in the bottom, is the main entrance, and is a green open space where they can relax before they enter to the oratory. And we decided in the other volumes to put the windows in the roof in order to create a microenvironment so they don't get any distraction from the surroundings. Actually, in the migrant house, they have some activities. For example, in that area, they have a basketball place where they can play. So we wanted to create this intimate space where they can get no distractions. Also, we have these roof windows, and also we have the doors are sliding doors, therefore, and they can remove as in order to make the connection between the green space and the volumes. And also, we principally use natural materials such as wood, stone, and vegetation. Actually, inside, I forgot to tell this, we have, you can see it in the first render, we have a green wall. This in order to make them feel more connected with nature. And I think this is all from this project. We will present the next one. First of all, I will like to start by saying a phrase that I think that represents our project. That is that strengths are in our difference, not in our similarities. We want this project to be called the Union Project in order to make the community become closer and to remove stereotypes from migrants, to combine, to have to socialize with the community. And our concept is the number 4, such as stages of life, such as kids, teens, adults, and elders. We want, as we said, to make a space where they can feel safe. And I think this will be, as you can see, this project is a little close to inside because we have a central courtyard. Because we think big changes start by small steps, because we feel like if we do a really open space since the beginning, it will make a dramatic change between these 2 parts. So we want to start the process slow, and my partner will describe more about the areas. Thank you.
Well, the relation between each space and of the community center, let's start with the entrance. The entrance leads you to the central patio, or you can go to the cafeteria for their own benefits, or you can go to the reception. These two spaces can lead you to the teen zone that is on the left, that also have like a playground for the kids, and also that space can be used by the migrants. And we have the multi-art area that is in the back of the project, and this can be used if you can have they can have arts, carpentry, or all those kind of DIY stuff. And then the cultural area, that is when you can find the books or play the piano or play any instruments that they want to share with the community. And the central patio represents like the union between all the first stages of life, like kids, teenagers, adults, and elders. And having said this, I think it's important to say that this form of the building is because they want them to feel welcome and to know each person or know each person of the community. That's all for our project. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much. That's all from our part. Any questions?
Could you, I might have missed it, but could you talk a little bit more about the formal strategy of this kind of like four-sided twisting roof? Like, seems like your roof plan is something to talk about.
Yes, we decided to make this roof this way because we thought about making plain, but we thought it was very boring. So we thought maybe in Chihuahua it doesn't rain that much, but when it rains, this water can fall into the central patio, and we can have this amazing view of the tree and the water falling inside the community center. So we want to create this with like a box, I don't know, like a roller coaster, but in with triangles.
Is that, in your mind, is that tied to like a ventilation strategy for the inside as well?
Yes. It's a little bit bigger than the, let me show you. The roof is a little bit bigger than the building because we want to the falls into the central patio. And actually you can see the roof in that way, like in that figure, because it's too high. At the same time, it's not too high. So it's just because of the function of the water and the necessity to make something different than a plain roof.
Sorry, I'm just really into the roof. What's the relationship between the geometry of the roof and the program? Like, is there, if you were to draw the roof over the first floor plan, like, is there a relationship?
I don't know if I can explain myself well, but since we have like this strange figure, like this, not a completely square, and the roof just wanted to be different in the same way because of the form.
Also, I feel it's more like aesthetically and sensation connection between the ceiling and the central patio, because it will give a different experience in being in the patio and having that, for example, as we said, the raining process in that area.
Tiziano, Ersela, if you have any questions?
I'm fine.
Fine, perfect. Ersela, too.
Yeah, but did I miss the oratory?
No, but we can explain it.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, no. Okay. Yes, that's fine. Sorry, I was voting in the matrix. Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody. So if you have any, Ersela, Tiziano, and Steven, if you want to have, if you want to give any comments about the whole project or some particular project, please feel free to give us these comments, and then we can close the section.
I wish these kinds of, I mean, this is a great project to tackle, and it's a really important issue for you guys to be thinking about. And so two things come to mind. First, I feel like projects like these need to maybe end sooner, and then if COVID-19 didn't happen, you would go back to the Casa de Migrantes, right, and present the work and kind of have everybody with a pencil in their hand, both migrants and people who work there, and kind of give you feedback and understand whether the notions of connecting the local community with the migrant community, the notions that you have architecturally, whether they actually make sense or what kind of improvement is needed. Because oftentimes we do think that like open space or public space or gardens might be spaces of sort of like of urban togetherness, of people being able to get together, but that may not be enough, right? And so socially, culturally, what else is needed for architecture and for design to succeed in relationship to your intentions? I think that's a really important question. And then the other thing, which is probably very obvious to all of us in this room, is this issue of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? The idea that maybe being together and training together is no longer healthy for the time being, right? And people are saying maybe until December. So what does it mean for these populations who are already vulnerable medically? That are not necessarily well equipped with sort of medical tools and medicine and things like that. Like how could we reimagine space in a way that people are still being kept safe, but also we're handling large volumes of people, you know? And so these are two questions that are really pressing in my mind anyway. The first one is the power of open space or architectural sort of like public space design to allow for different cultures to come together. I feel like there is more needed there. It's not just about design, but there's other kind of like infrastructures or systems that need to come into play to make that successful. And then the other issue is that this virus has changed the world forever, right? So it's completely changing the way we think about togetherness and about being in crowds, right? Or being in enclosed rooms. So yeah, those are maybe things you can take with you as you think about it over the summer, or as you're, I don't know, are you guys graduating? What grade, okay. How many more years do you have? Okay, all right, so you have time to think about it.
Yeah, I was really captivated by the ambitions and the resolutions in the studio to engage architecture as a form, but also as a way to produce a kind of form of society, right? So I think the relationships between the things and the spaces that we make, and then the societal relationships or the economies or the political situations that they imagine are really interesting. I think I would have loved to have seen, I guess, more of this, maybe all semester long. It's too bad that we didn't get a chance to work with you, because I think there's an interesting, I guess, ethics in your studio where you're trying to be quite experimental with this relationship, right? With the relationship of making a form that signals a kind of form of community or a form of society or something like this. And I would have just loved to have seen all of the experiments, right? Like on some of the boards, I saw a few little like process diagrams, like we tried this and it didn't work, or we're thinking about, you know, breaking the form apart and then it became this other thing or something like this. But I feel like as architects, you know, what we do is we represent form through the drawings and the models and the animations that you're imagining and creating. And I think to always balance that with a kind of form of society that it imagines is really powerful. And I think this idea of like experimentation and even failed experiments, right? Like the form of society that we're in currently is an experiment, right? It might be a failed experiment, but I think we just need, you need to be sort of as ambitious and as experimental as you can on sort of both fronts, and to take form seriously, I think too. You know, in some of the projects we heard ideas like, well, this space could be used in any number of ways, right? We're leaving it open. I would have loved to have seen like all of the different ways it might be used. Like, what are you imagining? Because also as architects, as much as we design for opportunity and for possibilities, like we design with physical things, and that provides this kind of series of constraints and a series of limits, not necessarily in a bad way, but as architects, we can be really precise about what exactly is possible, and what is the range of the things that are possible on any given site. And it just takes a kind of a twist of how you imagine sort of like representing your project. We have to draw plans and draw sections and draw buildings, but like how do you draw life? How do you draw possibilities? How do you draw limits of possibilities, where you're sort of dialing in through the architecture exactly the kind of brackets that you want people to be able to experience in your space. But yeah, I thought it was a really engaging studio, and congratulations.
Yes, just a few words. Let me thank you for inviting me to this presentation. And meanwhile you are doing your presentation, I was thinking that when we talk about immigration, always is also a political issue. You know, we enter in a debate that is political and worldwide. And but I think this studio was interesting. This presentation was interesting for me because I have come out this question that is very simple question, that how architecture can create integration. Wow, is a very big question, but in somehow I think the project in maybe not in comprehensive way or complete way, they try to give some direction, some answer that I to share with you what I learned from your project. For example, as always, is important the shape, form, the composition of the building, and is important the materiality. And many of you try to change materiality, play with light and so on. So again, architecture can really create something important for those kind of weak part of the society. And also I have seen many of you working with the common places, some of them open, some of them closed in walls or courtyard, and always try to give a kind of identity. Wow, all the issue of architecture actually. This is why it was very interesting for me. And what I have seen in many projects, what is for me it's very interesting is that sometimes, especially for the community center, the architect, the designer have to design not only for the users in the migrants, but mainly for the community, for the surrounding. This is the always architecture and architect to work in that way. But when you talk with the migrants, with immigration issue, it became very clear that this aspect to create a integration or try to design not only for the users, but mainly to let the people in the surrounding understand that they are not only a kind of problem. The migrant is not only a problem, they could be a problem, but also they are a big resources, I think, and they have a big potentiality. So those projects made me this thinking. So I think it's good because I learned something. Thank you.
Thank you again, Tiziano, Ersela, and Steven for all these comments. And I'm sure that in the future, in the next future, we can collaborate and work together in these topics between Tec de Monterrey, El Paso, Texas Tech. We are here, but also with Tiziano in Italy and in China, no? Because migration is a worldwide phenomenon. It's different from each country and context, from political, economic, and social reasons, but it's a very common topic, and the topic of integration, of experimentation, relation between architecture and society is worldwide a contemporary challenge. So I'm sure that we can work and have a lot of collaboration. Also with the students, because there are several semesters that are missing from the graduation. So in this semester, I'm sure we can work a lot and have a lot of good results, and they will come out as the best architects in the world. So I'm really happy. Thank you again. And Ersela, Steven, and Tiziano, if you can send me the Excels with the evaluation, then we will proceed with everything. And I hope that in the next months we will send you some pictures of the oratorio that is being building. I hope. in the next weeks we will ask to Linda and so on to have a meeting to discuss about that. Okay, thank you very much. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, chicos.